One of the hardest truths I've had to learn as a business owner, husband, athlete, and leader is this. Your life reflects your standards, not your intentions, not your goals, not your potential, your standards. Because every area of life is currently producing exactly what it's been trained to produce. And if we're honest, most of us don't need a new strategy. We need a higher standard. Today, I want to talk about why standards change everything. One of the things I've learned being a student of the game, goals don't change people. Everyone has goals. We want to lose weight. We want to grow the business. We want to improve our marriage, and we want to deepen our faith. But goals are temporary. Standards are permanent. Now, when I first started the insurance company, I wanted to qualify for the $1 million club so bad. I had set this goal. But thinking about the goal every single day was not going to get me to the $1 million club. My standards were who I needed to become, what action steps I needed to take, who I needed to surround myself, what questions I need to ask. The standards showing up every single day had to raise. I had to get comfortable getting uncomfortable. Once I hit that milestone in 18 months, because I had set that goal and I reverse engineered and I raised my standards, I wanted to qualify for the next mission, the President's Club. But what I'd learned, because my new standards had to raise, what got me to the $1 million club was not going to get me to the President's Club. So my standards had to raise, not just for me, but everyone around me who I surrounded myself with in the team. Their standards had to raise. Once we hit the President's Club, I started seeing a trend. I started seeing how you do one thing is how you do everything. Because if I raise my standards in this one area of life, I can raise my standards in these other areas of life, in my health, in my relationships, in my spirituality. Because it's who I'm becoming in that journey of that 10.0 version of myself. Because I just keep stacking. I wanted to build a mastermind in Montgomery County for business owners and entrepreneurs to design a life they don't regret without sacrificing health, relationships, and spirituality. Not just one person, not just two. I wanted to impact over 100 like-minded business owners and entrepreneurs and leaders in Montgomery County to do that. So the standards had to be raised. I wanted to run faster in my endurance journey. I could barely run a 10-minute mile just shy of 3 years ago. Now I'm at a 5:36 minute per mile pace. How? Because I've raised my standards. I've shown up every single day. And all through this journey, this is all great and all, but who am I if I am not the husband or leader for my wife? So I wanted to become that Christian business leader for my wife. What does he do differently than the individual that sets the goal to be a better husband, but never does anything about it? So I set the goal and then I raised my standards. I started being kinder, nicer. I started reading books, listening to podcasts. I started forging myself into church, surrounding myself with other men that had been married for 30, 40, 50 years and treat their wife the way I wanted to treat my wife. I raised my standards. And none of these goals happened because of goals. None of these had. They happened because standards changed. And one thing I've learned, you don't rise to your goals. You fall to your standards. The standards that really have changed my life in the last 10 to 12 years, I want to talk to you guys about these different areas of life because how you do one thing is how you do everything. If your standards raised just in one area of life, they need to be raised in these other areas of life. And I have realized that. And in my marriage, the standard is we have weekly coffee dates with my wife every Sunday before church. It is a standard. It's a non-negotiable. We meet for 60 to 90 minutes and we reflect on our week. We go over our high, lows, and gratitudes. And then we talk about the next week for 60 to 90 minutes. And we change up our questions on a weekly basis. This is the standard. in my health journey, setting all these marathons and high roxes and endurance races. They're goals. They're nice to have, but I trained even when I didn't feel like it. So by doing that, that was the new standard. And in business, building the insurance company, the mastermind group, and these businesses over the last 10 years in my entrepreneur journey, I had to raise the standards of my leadership meetings, creating agendas, memos, getting buy-in from our leaders, from the people that were in these leadership meetings. We had to make adjustments and tweaks. These were the new standards, taking ownership of these meetings, accountability, holding each other accountable every single week, following through, being a man, a woman of your words, saying, doing what you say. These were the standards. Faith in my spiritual journey. Think about if I didn't have any standards and I just said, you know what? I want to be a better husband. I want to be a better Christian business leader. I want to open the car door for my wife. These are just goals and wishes. But until you put these standards in place for me, is going to church, prayer every single day, intentional growth, being intentional about what worked, what didn't work, and asking for feedback from my wife and the people around me, how I'm showing up with kindness, humility, and love. Do I slip up? Absolutely. I'm a human being. But it's reflecting on that and recognizing that and adjusting along the way. Now, the breakthrough that I have learned wasn't more information. The breakthrough was raising the standard. And where leaders lower their standards, that I have learned being a student in the game, is we often tolerate poor communication, lack of accountability, missed commitments, unhealthy habits, reactive living. And eventually, those tolerated behaviors become culture. I don't know if you can resonate with that, but I did every single one of those. Early years in business, I was constantly working 14, 15, 16-hour days. I had migraines. I was stressed out. I wasn't eating right. I was underneath my desk. I was like, this is normal. This is entrepreneurship, right? I was neglecting my relationships, everybody around me, no friendships, my marriage, I was neglecting my health. And it's because I was falling to the level of my standards. And what you tolerate today becomes your reality tomorrow. Now, the hard question that I've had to ask myself is this: what standard have you lowered? In health, marriage, faith, in your leadership, finances, relationships, business? What have you been making excuses for? And what have you normalized? What have you tolerated? The life you're living today is giving you feedback. It's an indicator. And once you raise the standard, you don't need to overhaul your life. You don't need to do everything at once. You raise one standard, just one. Maybe it's you wake up early. You have the difficult conversation. You go for a walk. You schedule the weekly coffee date to reflect on your week. You join the room of like-minded individuals or mastermind group. Maybe it's you read 10 pages a day. Maybe it's praying. You pray for a minute, 5 minutes. Raise one standard. Small standards create big transformations. If this episode challenged you, don't just listen to it. Reflect on it. Where in your life have you lowered your standard? And what would happen if you raised it starting today? Because the quality of your life, business, leadership, health, and relationships will never consistently rise above the standard you accept. Appreciate you guys being here. Keep leveling up.